We're going to continue now with our conversation with crime analyst Mr. Johan Burger, who's currently weighing in on the Qumbu shooting incident in the Eastern Cape. And of course, we are specifically looking at the safety of community policing forums, as well as the scarce resources that some of the police stations in these far-flung rural areas, as well as townships and villages, actually have. Johan, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying with us and your patience today. So we're just talking about the Qumbu shooting. And I mean, as we understand, those were actually members that were working to ensure safety in the community. So looking at safety and resources that policing forums actually do have, what are you observing on that front? And what do you think still needs to be done in order to better equip such groups? Because we do know in such areas, as pointed out to the police contingent by community members, the police stations are far as well as under-resourced. And also to your earlier point, you did mention that these community policing forums actually go about unarmed, so they cannot retaliate or protect themselves against any attacks while they are on duty.
Yes, and just to continue on that point, you see, it's not the responsibility of a CPF to do police work. The CPF is a community police forum that is expected to oversee the police. It's civilian oversight in a way. And now the whole idea evolved in a way to a situation that we now have where the CPF is made responsible for the management of the so-called community patrollers. And, you know, the community patrollers in many ways is nothing else than a neighborhood watch. And my worry is that they have increasingly been given more and more operational responsibilities. In other words, police work. And this happens in areas where it may be very, very dangerous for them, such as in the Qumbu area in the Eastern Cape, we have high levels of stock theft. And stock theft are carried out by armed criminal groups, by crime syndicates. And they will not be deterred by unarmed civilian groups who's probably also not well trained. So this whole concept, I think, has moved in the wrong direction. I think community patrollers should do what neighborhood watchers usually do, patrolling their own neighborhoods, and they should refrain from performing hardline operational police work. That is not what they are supposed to be doing. We have a reservist a system within the South African Police Service. And that is the problem. We have neglected the reservist system to the extent that over the last 12 years, we dropped from over 30,000 police reservists to under 3,000. And police reservists are normally recruited on the basis of minimum criteria. They are trained by the police. They are issued with uniforms, with firearms, and they are, when they are on duty, expected to perform the same kind of duties that ordinary police do. So that's the route to take. So in my view, this whole thing is moving in the wrong direction. We should not have community patrollers performing hardline police functions. Absolutely,
Johan. I mean, I was just going to say we cannot allow the excuse of areas not having fully functional as well as resourced police stations to service the length and breadth of the country. I mean, it's 30 years into democracy now. So there obviously then maybe needs to be a revisit or reform in how policing as well as collaboration with the community policing forums is actually managed.
Yes, I agree with that. I think, you know, there's a hard lesson to be learned from this incident. I mean, we have 6 people who had all the best interests of their community at heart, but they are dead now, and 4 others were wounded. And this may happen again and again if the same situation continues, where we use community patrollers who are unarmed, who are probably not well trained, if trained at all, to perform work in conditions that are the responsibility normally of the police. So the lesson now is that we should revisit this whole approach and think we should go back to a system where the community patrollers perform in their own areas the typical neighborhood watch duties, and bring back the police reservists. If we don't have sufficient SABC members in a particular area, this is where your reservist system should work. So why don't we revisit the whole reservist system? Recruit reservists also in those areas where the patrollers aren't currently performing those duties. Recruit people for the reservist system that qualify in terms of the minimum requirements, train them properly, issue them with uniforms, and issue them with identity cards, because once on duty, a police reservist has all the same responsibilities, duties, and powers of a police officer.
And
Johan, they are armed and trained by the police. And I think that is the course that we should take.
Absolutely, and we just hope, of course, the situation there doesn't end up like what we saw in Johannesburg with Amapanyaza there, where there was actually a question of what type of powers do they actually have. Johan, thank you so much. A great conversation there around safety of police, community policing forums in villages as well as far-flung rural areas.